You are listening to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. I'm Boston Brazel, and what a week. 2 matches, and boy, were they on opposite ends of the spectrum. FC Cincinnati fans are looking for that sweet, sweet relief. Will that come in the form of this painful losing streak finally ending, or the mercy of the schedule running out? Either way, it is nigh. We all know that feeling of missing soccer in the offseason, but right about now, stopping this madness seems like the correct thing to do. FC Cincinnati is closing in on the statistically, supremely improbable feat of finishing last place for the 3rd season in a row. On the flip side, it is kind of impressive to be that bad in a salary cap league, especially after resetting multiple times. So why do you do it? Why do we continue to talk about it? Because end of the day, it will change, and this is our club. I swear you can download this audio and play it back at me next year or the year after, but MLS is still a league of parity, and our self-sabotage will eventually wear off. The New England Revolution just won the Supporter Shield, a team that from 2015 through 2020 was hot garbage. A club that eventually put the right manager and players on the pitch together. I know that doesn't make anyone feel better today. I know we have squandered a really cool thing. Everyone that is listening built that in Cincinnati. And it will take effort on all of our parts to put it all back together again once it is finally our year. Until then, well, we hang on, baby. We cry, we vent, we post stupid crap on Facebook. We regret posting a day later. We hop on Reddit and yell at Jeff Birdie. We curse redheaded twins. We go watch our next game because we can't help ourselves. We listen to FCC podcasts. We read whatever next news tweet is on. And most of all, we wait. And if you can't wait, you can follow us at Cincinnati Soccer Talk or email us at feedback@cincinnati-soccertalk.com. Thanks for tuning in. I have waited months for this co-host to join me on the show again, and I am pleased he is back to make us look smarter tonight. Ken, it has been a while. How you holding up, my old friend?
I'm doing pretty good. I mean, you threw this crew together, and I'm wondering, are you either Chris Albight putting the 4 of us together, or you Gerard Nijkamp? I mean, I'm on this roster, so I'm definitely the $1 million player who ain't performing here. So,
No. You perform. You're just disinterested right now.
It could have been like, Jeff Cameron was out, and we had to put someone in the center.
I broke my wrist. Sorry, I've been out for a while. So, no, it's good to be back. It's been a long week for those 2 games for us fans. So, I don't want to say it's going to be good to talk about those games, but we will, and we'll see how it plays out here on the line.
For those who don't know, Ken has a sweet, sweet place right next to the stadium, which he still has not had me out to. I'm starting to think you just don't clean the place up.
That's true. I don't. I have a Roomba. It cleans the place up for me. So maybe the last game of the season we can all just go there and pregame.
There you go.
The USA game. Hey-o.
Hey-o. Yeah.
Well, you heard his voice back on his multi-streak run, Bryan Weigel. You pumped up that World Cup event so much, I ran down there, was all hyped, and didn't see you.
Oh, selling me out, bro. Well, that's what happens when you actually have a job. We have to show up, Mr. PTO.
Yeah, I did piece out of my job early.
Well, I'm super jealous. I wanted to be down there. Tell us, how was it?
That was pretty neat. I want to jump into it here a little bit later, but the event itself was neat. I mean, I never eat so much free food at the banks in my life, so that part was cool. I feel like the event itself was just a little bit more of a press statement. I don't think it's going to play into the bid at all as to whether we get it or not. I mean, the fans showed up. That was cool, but they seemed to be impressed with all the work that was put in, and there was a lot of work put in. That part did show through. I will say that was really cool.
Yeah, you could just see with the ads all over. I mean, they had signs on downtown, so that's pretty neat. But yeah, wish I could have been there. But had the last had work Friday, and then I had my last weekend of youth soccer for at least a couple weeks here. So got to have some fun with the kids this weekend and watch some wins and some goals. So not usual there. So
did you score Bryan, when you were playing? Oh, you mean you were coaching some youth soccer? I thought you were actually out there on the field.
See these bald spots here, Ken? Who's that guy? Who's that guy? That looks like 34, has a beard, playing with 5-year-olds. What?
Well, might be able to score then if that's competition. And I've been looking forward to our newest host, Jason Ashcraft. You might know him as the Salt Lake guy on Twitter that talked about FCC all the time. But he's back in the proper city, joining our team because he is a glutton for punishment. Thanks for jumping on board, Jason.
I am a glutton for punishment. Thanks for having me, guys. I got to say, I living in Salt Lake for most of the time that FC Cincinnati has been around. I had to kind of live vicariously through all the podcasts, you all here at CST, Knifey Lion, Old Man Ultras, Wrong Side of the Pond, all of you. And it's a real pleasure to be on. I've been listening since day one, watching since day one. I occasionally even go back and when I'm feeling blue, watching Sub's reaction to the very first Hell is Real win. So it's pretty awesome to be with you guys, and I wish it was under better circumstances.
What's it like to miss all of the greatness of FC Cincinnati and move back in the lowness of FC Cincinnati?
Oh man, that's what's really interesting. Because I was out there for all of the buildup and all the great runs the first season, obviously the U.S. Open Cup run. And I only actually got to go to one game as when FC Cincinnati was in the USL. And that was the Squirrel game against Louisville City. I think it was right before the official MLS announcement. And unfortunately, that was a loss too. But yeah, it was really weird. But being a Cincinnati fan my whole life, a Reds fan, a Bengals fan, you're kind of used to not being around when the good times are going on and being here for the misery in person. So,
well, real quick, just because our fans haven't got to hear you before, can you tell us your history of getting into soccer? What drew you in?
Sure,
Why
absolutely.
SCC?
Yeah. So I grew up in a little town in Brown County, Ohio. Georgetown, Ohio. Some of y'all might know where it is, but just to kind of give you an idea how small it was, we didn't have a high school football team. So growing up, everybody played soccer. And so growing up, I was just really into soccer and a huge soccer fan. I would run home to try to catch, UEFA Champions League games on ESPN back when they were showing them. And I remember when MLS was announced, being really pumped about the Columbus Crew because it was an Ohio team. But because I grew up around Cincinnati, that was the big city. That's where you went for Reds games, Bengals games, the zoo, all of that. I became a, big Cincinnati fan. And I was always kind of bummed that Cincinnati didn't have a pro team. I worked in athletics for many years before I'm doing what I did now. And I had the great pleasure of working at Xavier University in athletics for 3 years. And when I was working in Cincinnati, it was the Saints, and that was really all we had. But never in my life did I think Cincinnati would get a USL team or would get it, let alone an MLS team. And so when I first saw, who was it, Scratching the Pitch, I think it was, that first broke the news of the USL FC Cincinnati team. I saw that on Twitter and I just was like, well, this is my team now. I didn't think they would make MLS right at first. So I was a RSL season ticket holder at the time, but it was a pleasant surprise at how successful the team was. And then seeing it turn into an MLS team, to see the TQL Stadium being built was just really a dream come true. I had the great fortune of going out to Seattle for the very first MLS game. And that was just really cool to kind of be there and be with the fans and see the team walk out onto the pitch for the first time. But I've been a soccer fan my whole life. And just to be able to be here in my hometown, back here now, and going to TQL Stadium with all of you all is just really kind of a dream come true as a longtime soccer fan.
Awesome. Well, I know we're glad to have you. Brian Weigel's been trying to hook you in here for a while. So no, I'm really glad it worked out. Glad you're back. It's
Thank
pretty
you.
cool. We will, as I said in the intro, your time will come to watch a good team. And in typical Jason fashion, you left RSL in ruins behind you.
Hey, I would still take what they're going through, minus the whole owner does a racism thing. I would still take the position they're in now versus where FC Cincinnati is. I love RSL still, but that fan base is kind of spoiled in a good way, and they are not happy with where they are, but they're in a playoff spot. So
yeah, it's true. And you could be in a playoff spot too with our sponsors drink. Suero X. Rehydrate with the new Suero X. 0 sugar, 0 calories. The power of 8 ions will speed up your recovery time. They sent it to us. We've tried it. It's awesome. Highly recommended. So check out our sponsor. But let's get to our best and worst. Bryan, 2 games. You have all kinds of options to choose from. Dig deep in your bag of bests and worsts and give it to us.
I got a lot of worsts, best though. No, I would say, and don't just focus exclusively on Saturday. I did take some positives from Zico Bailey going forward, not as much defensively. I was happy to see Blackett get involved and shine in some instances. Yes, again, struggling Saturday, but overall, I think he was probably one of the better performers. And then Brandon Vasquez stepping up and putting some goals in, taking advantage of an opportunity. Don't know if he'll be back next year, but it gets me upset that we haven't seen more from this whole year when he's been able to take advantage of these situations. The worst, I think you'll play some audio here a little bit later about evaluations versus results. And, even though you're evaluating players, you would still hope that you don't get the doors blown off you. I mean, 5-1, 6-1, whatever the actual score the match was. Just super disappointing that you didn't see some of the guys that we really have relied on in the past, like Alan Cruz. He just kind of gave up. And quite a few players, I felt like you just looked at them and they just gave up, and I hate seeing that. So as a club, in 3 years we've had 60 total points, and again, almost 3 seasons of play. Of course last year it was shortened. You look at New England this year and they've scored 70 total points this year, and it's just a kick in the what. And I'm just getting sick of it. I think a lot of us are getting sick of it, and at the end of the day, I mean, we have to put more back on these players. So I've never been somebody that's wanted to DM a player or call them out on Twitter, but my goodness, I was as close to I've ever been on Saturday. But yeah, just disappointed in some members of this group.
Yeah, hold it back, Bryan. Control yourself.
Yeah, don't want to lose that credential. Don't want to get put in the doghouse again.
Yes, we have been there, done both of those things. Ken.
I'm going to start with my worst. Let's just say it. I mean, let's come out, I'm Ken, I'm an alcoholic, so, kind of feeling, just, we have the worst goalkeeper union. We do. It's just, we do have the worst goalkeepers in MLS combined. You guys are laughing, but I mean, maybe I can't,
Hey, we haven't seen Ben Lunt.
I know. It's time to see somebody other than Teton and Vermeer. I'm not going to sit there and say it's Ben Lunt, but, put somebody else in, because I'm just exhausted with that. So
do you buy the statements from like the coaching staff and the GM saying like, oh, we've evaluated, more in 2 weeks of practice than we have in 90 minutes? Like, why we haven't seen Lunt out there? And props to Laurel for all her reporting on that. So
I got a conspiracy theory. So I'm just going to say it. What happens if Ben Lunt comes out and does well? What position is the club in?
You got to re-sign him.
And Vermeer, and Vermeer is already here. And Beckham, Bex is already our young player. So the club is in a bad spot if they play Ben Lunt and he does well. So that's my conspiracy theory. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying they don't gain anything by playing him, because all they can do is really put themselves in a bad position. That's my logic. But what they say, they can say whatever they want to, and that could be the case. I'm just saying I can see that as well. I'm not saying that's the case. Just That's my conspiracy theory. Don't say that's what I think. Like that's set in stone or believable. So that's my worst. Anyways, it's just the goalkeeper play for this team has been pathetic the entire year. In fact, it's been pathetic for all 3 years. I know we've had conversations where we didn't even want Teton signed back and kept Spencer Ritchie and gone another direction. Best, you kind of stole it, Brandon Vasquez. I'm a Brandon Vasquez sort of apologist a little bit here. I don't think he's like a starter again, but the guy deserves some playing time. And when he gets some solid playing time with good players, I think he can produce. I think he's a good, I was talking to my dad earlier tonight. He's a good every third game, give him sort of a starter 20, 40 minutes, 45 minutes to give our other forwards a rest. And he's a value pick at that time, and he's domestic. So again, we're going to get into cost and all that other stuff, but I like the way I'm happy with seeing Brandon Vasquez have some success.
This is why we keep Ken on the sidelines for a couple of weeks, because then when he comes out, he comes firing with conspiracy theories. And I mean, don't ask his views on vaccines or anything. But no, I'm just kidding. He's not a nut, but I do love that conspiracy theory, because I could see how that could be true. End of the day, though, just give the fans what they want. They're paying money to watch you lose anyway. And if the fans want Ben Lunt, then play Ben Lunt. If he stinks, then he stinks. Although I am kind of glad the club did not play him in the last match, because I feel like he'd have been a sacrificial lamb letting in 5 goals, and everybody would have said, whoa, Teton wouldn't have done that. But he did. All right, Jason. Give us your...
Yeah, sure. My best, besides Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson confirming that the SKC goalkeeper did, in fact, execute a rock bottom this weekend.
That was pretty cool.
That was pretty awesome. So soccer has officially made it in America. Mm-hmm. My best, I'm going to go with you all. Brandon Vasquez, I think, was a breath of fresh air this week with 2 goals. And also mixing up the formation. I've been clamoring for 2 up top since the beginning of the year. And at this point in the season, what do you got to lose? If you can just get Brenner to work off of somebody, I think that would be very helpful for next season. But Brandon Vasquez, he came in, played well, got 2 goals. And the thing that I noticed, they both came off of really nice long passes, if I remember correctly. And that's something we haven't really seen a lot of this year. My worst is brought to you by the number 9, and that is the amount of goals FC Cincinnati gave up this past week. It was fun to watch them go forward, but whenever the opposing team got the ball, it was a hold your breath and wait, because they were just giving up goals like water through a sieve. And I don't know what it is. They had their better defensive unit out there on Wednesday. Jeff Cameron was in the lineup. They still gave up 4. Jeff Cameron's not in the lineup. They give up 5. So I don't really know what it is. I honestly think they're getting to the point in the season where they're just kind of like, well, we've got 2-3 games left. Let's ride this puppy out, because nothing is being done defensively.
Yeah, versus Chicago, I felt like they just threw the offense at it no matter what, even. And that's kind of contributed to the high score. But honestly, my best for the week, my numbness, because that last loss didn't hurt as bad as it should have. When there's nothing on the line, I'm just sitting here watching Zico Bailey get some minutes, learn some tough lessons on defense, as he was responsible for a little bit of that nightmare that was in Miami. Luckily for him, his big one got VAR called back, because that was all his fault. But I do like that we're playing the youngsters. I do like that we're seeing a little bit more. But yes, it's just that time of the season to realize you're probably going to watch a loss, and then pull whatever little value you can that will be on this roster out of it. I think my worst. Oh, no. I got one more best. Watching Columbus Crew fall down the table, because that has to hurt. Like seeing your playoff chances, you were there. They were there. They were on the cusp holding that spot, and they had just slipped. So if we can't win, neither can you, suckers.
That's
All
Porter
right.
ball. You win an MLS Cup, and then the very next year, you just don't even make the playoffs.
Yeah, they could throw that in my face, but it's still nice to watch them slip down the table this year. If you are an Ohio fan, then extra tough.
Hell, man, Columbus Crew, they used to have that with Berhalter. Look at Berhalter's overall record. Ain't pretty.
Well, worst though, accepting the "we are better this year" narrative is got to be either false or FCC is the most cursed soccer team in the Americas. And I've pushed this narrative, probably on this show, that this team is better than last year's team. But man, if you look at the numbers and it's just not adding up. And then if you're holding on to the excuse, well, we're not getting blown out this year. Well, we just got blown out this year. So I don't know. If we really are all that much better, but I believe people. All right, well.
So we did have a negative 44 goal differential year one, and we're at a negative 31 this year. So the margins are narrower.
We got 3 games left.
Yeah.
There's always a chance.
Yeah. FCC played 2 matches this week. The first one was versus Chicago. It was actually pretty darn exciting if you were in the stadium because you had that little feeling inside your belly like we're going to get a point. And it was a high-scoring affair. Bryan, 3 goals. Did you think you would see the day? We scored 3 goals.
Yeah, man. It was exciting, especially how we kind of came into those goals. We were down, but how many times have we said this? Ronald Matarrita and his dynamic ability on that left wing, whether it's in the fullback role or that midfield role that he was kind of doing with Castillo behind him, the freedom to get forward led to more opportunities. So, do I always want to see more of that? I like him in that left back role and have a proper left back at some point, or left wing at some point. But yeah, I think a lot of credit has to go to him.
Yeah, I agree. Serving it in, dishing it out. Ken, that was some fight from FCC. You're talking about a battle back, another battle back. Only to have it slip away at the end, but the two battle backs, pretty nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was nice to see some fight in the guys at that moment in time. But man, did that game actually just show how much we miss a central defensive midfielder? Though, I mean, that's the best we can throw out right now. And I mean, I know we're missing Kubo, but dear Lord. We can't play that shape without the defensive midfielder. This team is so desperate for a stud defensive midfielder. That's what I took from that game. Actually, is just watching it was getting down and just we were a sieve. So, but it was nice to see offensively the team take chances and actually show like they had something going forward. So,
well, didn't both matches. Now I should back this up. And pardon to cut you off there, Jason, but like we had reasonable amount of chances in both the Chicago game and the Miami game. We just didn't finish, which is the story of 2021.
Yeah, no, Ken's absolutely right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they came out against Chicago playing the diamond, 4-4-2 diamond.
That's
when
correct.
you play that, and coach isn't here to correct me and tell me I'm dumb, but
It's too nice.
Just heading back to my Salt Lake experience, that was Jason Christ's preferred formation back when Salt Lake was dominating the league. And the reason that they were so good at it is because you had Kyle Beckerman as that central defensive mid who was able to clean up the mess. If anybody got through on a counter, he was going to come in and just destroy them. And he did not care. There was no finesse about it. FC Cincinnati doesn't necessarily need somebody like that aggressive, but they do need a competent CDM to come in if you're going to play that formation. And I mean, we've gone through half a dozen formations this year, so who knows what they're going to bring out Wednesday against Nashville. But I came into the game thinking, once I saw that formation, thinking, okay, well, maybe we can get something going here. But Ken, you're absolutely right. That's exactly the problem, is they had nobody there to clean up the mess whenever there was a turnover.
Jason, I don't know about you. When I saw the lineup, though, it was probably the most hope I felt
Oh, yeah.
before a game. I walked into the stands. I sit next to several people I know, and I said, "This is the one. This is the one." Before the game, called it. Felt pretty good, just because. Look, we had some experiments, we had some trials, but we also, I mean, confidence. And it's Chicago. Like, if this is the team you're going to beat at the end of the season, it's got to be this one.
Yeah, I came into the game exactly. I came into the game hopeful. I went. My wife couldn't go. I went by myself. Just thought I'd just kind of chill and have a few beers and watch a nice game and come out with a win. Felt it's Chicago, and I was with you on that. And there were two guys up front, and like I said, I was clamoring for that all year. It did pay off. They got 3 goals, but they gave up 4, which has kind of been the story of the season. They keep leaking goals.
So I'm going to give you 2 players. I thought my players of the week, especially from match 1, Zico Bailey and Ronald Matarrita. Match 2, probably just Ronald Matarrita.
You just bang that Zico Bailey drum, don't you?
I do.
Big guy?
I get.
No matter what
heavily
anybody
criticized online
says.
for it. Yeah.
No matter what anybody says, Boston bangs that Bailey drum.
Well, give me your is Ronald Matarrita the player of the week? You got to take both games into consideration. Is there anyone else?
Vasquez,
yeah.
All right. So which one? Matarrita or Vasquez? Who's your player of the week if you have to pick one?
I'm going Vasquez. Just because we haven't seen enough from a center forward, and he produced in that manner, and he was dangerous, especially in the Chicago game. He was dangerous. But again, I'm not going to sit there and bang his drum like he should be the starter. But he was the player of the week for me.
No, I think the MVP this week goes to Nick Hagglund because his stock only went up. So we'll see how that goes.
His stock went up at home.
Mr. Versatile, left back, right back, center back, and he wasn't a part of 9 goals conceded.
How about
Vasquez,
his
though,
wife
too.
just automatically getting free help at home?
I don't want to even touch a newborn baby with one arm.
Oh,
I'd be like, sorry, honey, I can't help at all. Safety of the kid. So, Jason, what do you have to say there, big guy?
I'd say Vasquez too. I mean, he's doing the things that we kind of expected Brenner to do this week. Knocking in long balls, and he's like I'm with Ken. He's not necessarily starter material, but he's maybe proven his worth a little bit as an extra sub next year.
All right, let's get slap happy. FC Cincinnati versus Miami.
Oh.
It was a little bit of a beat down. Brenner gets the night off, understandably. He's played every game since April, it feels like. So probably solid that Brenner gets the night off. Hagglund off as well. Cameron suspended. FC Cincinnati has to come up with some kind of solution in the backfield. They choose to go with Caleb Stanko and Zico Bailey. And it is the incorrect combination. Midfield, though, definitely looked lost. Leadership. Does FC Cincinnati have any leadership whatsoever without Cameron on that field?
No.
What? Madunin, I think, gives a calming presence, but when he's gone, and I mean that it's a house of cards. Cruz, how many times have we wanted him to be a leader on this team? And he's proven time and time again he can't do it. I thought Blackett tried to do it, tried to fill that role, but it just with managing what he had to manage and with Matarrita trying to get up the field and the lack of D mids to really come back and help. He was kind of upstream. But yeah, disappointing. But I like how you referred to the combination of Bailey and Stanko. Hopefully never really have to see that one again.
Yeah, I got chatty on Twitter during the game about that combination as well. And some players were saying we should have tried Duvall. We should have tried. Is there anything else that you saw on the bench that could have saved us in that match? Or was it just we're toast?
Was Ben Lunt on the bench? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Just wanted to fire that out there. No, there was nothing on the bench that really could have changed the outcome of that match. I mean,
there's people you would think would have.
Well, I mean, there was one goal that, I saw somebody say it was Bailey's fault. And I was like, I think it was the third or fourth goal. I saw the highlight, and he's letting the runner run across, and he held the line, and they made him a nice pass, and I'm like, that was a goal because of Teton at that point, because Bailey was in the right spot, and it was just a beautiful play. He couldn't make that kind of. So my whole point is there was nobody else on the bench. Duvall's not going to provide something better at that point in time. And I'd rather get some experience from Bailey, who may come back next year. I don't see Duvall on this team at all next year. So
Yeah, there's no way.
I can't remember. Did Breck Shea score against us this time?
No.
Okay, well, at least there's small blessings.
Yes.
In that,
he only
5
does,
goals.
He only does
Breck
that
Shea.
he only does that in TQL.
So far, the king of TQL Stadium.
Yeah, that's right. No, that was a small blessing. The Breck Shea curse is over, so maybe that means better times ahead for FC Cincinnati, honestly, because that one's dogged us for years.
I think the one thing you'd like at least positive to say out of this game, and even though he didn't have a very good game, at least Kyle Scott getting out there, getting some legs. I think that's what a lot of fans will hope. He's a player that could kind of take over that Stanko spot on the roster, domestic backup midfielder, and he's on a great budget number. So I'd like to see him play more. He's going to need to get more game. I mean, he's going to need to get acclimated to the group. But I guess 3 games left. Let's at least see him in 2 of the 3.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I thought Kyle Scott looked pretty good. I'd love to see him and Acosta link up a little bit more.
Mhm.
I think there was a little bit of miscommunication between them. But in a game like that, I mean, you're really just grasping at straws to find anything positive.
Urgency going forward probably wasn't there. A lot of uncomfortable moments, I think, throughout the whole pitch or the whole game across the pitch. But I think I agree with you, Jason, that he's a stock that we want to keep see rise and see what we got.
Yeah,
I will say we definitely seem bent on trying to send those defensive wings up the field and not play it safe. Like you remember FC Cincinnati last year when we got beat down, the coach just went into like shutdown mode. We basically put an 11-man wall out there. You haven't seen any 11-man walls this year, unless it's because like they're pushing so far in your half, everybody has to get back. But when FC Cincinnati has the ball, they are pushing forward. They're staying aggressive, almost too aggressive. Did you guys catch that Alan Cruz slap at the end of the game? We got to talk about it. It's ridiculous.
I did not see it, but he is. I didn't see it. I heard about it afterward, but everybody wanting Cruz not to play. He's going to be out against Nashville. So
what 5 fingers say to the face? Yeah, it's just another thing. Brad and I were discussing this today. Like everybody's like, oh, let's buy out Kama or Kuba or whatever. And I'm almost to the point where I want to buy out Alan Cruz or pay somebody to take him. Just he's not doing it. He doesn't seem like he wants to be here. His body language out in the field, it just frustrates me to hell.
No, after that, you quit. I mean, I know you're down 5-1, but you quit on everything. You quit on the next game by taking that red card you knew you were going to take when you did it. And what's there to be mad about? Like they didn't just steal the game from you like Chicago did. Like you lost that game 40 minutes ago. So that's where I'm a little bit confused, disappointed in Alan Cruz for not keeping his composure. I'm with you. I don't know if I'd use the buyout on him, but I think I would just start asking around. And that's one of those. I hope this offseason to see one of those statements where it's like Alan Cruz and FC Cincinnati have mutually agreed to part ways. Would not be sad at all.
We're only so lucky. Yeah. He ain't going to get paid $1 million to sit
No, you'd have
else.
to eat. You'd have to eat some of it. But
oh yeah.
But if you can offload and just take the whatever hit, you might have to.
Hey, I think his time to unload him was at the beginning of this year. Yeah. I don't think there's any, much as I say that, Gerard couldn't offload him earlier this year. He's not going to offload him, or Albright's not going to offload him now, unless we take all somebody's like college draft picks, maybe.
I mean, we're sitting here talking about Alan Cruz, and I was a fan of him when we signed him in the first year. I was a fan, and last year I gave him a kind of a little bit of a. He's annoyed the living daylights out of me. This is another Gerard Nijkamp, and I'm for all of our listeners. Alan Cruz was on a $350,000 a year contract when we signed him. $350,000 per year, and we had him for 2 years plus one. So that plus one, he may have gotten a raise a little bit on it if we would have done it. Gerard Nijkamp signed him to $1 million. He gave him an $800,000 raise. And as soon as he got that raise, he got fat and happy and lazy, it seems like. And I'm like, this is not what you do in a salary cap league. You do not, you take those contracts, the beneficial contracts, that you can use to your advantage. And we did not. And I was like, that irritated me when I got that, and then throw on the Vermeer signing. And I'm like, oh my God, Nijkamp's got to go. So whole point is Cruz has just become a waste of a spot. I'm with Bryan, but I don't know if I buy him out over I do Camo, because I still don't see Camo healthy enough to be able to contribute.
I see this comment in our listener section. How bad was Gerard Nijkamp? Followed up with Rupesh, almost as bad as Jeff Birding. Now, Rupesh, I'm going to blow your mind here, my friend. I think, guys, agree with me or disagree with me on this. I think we'd be in a better spot now if Jeff Birding was the general manager for 3 seasons versus Gerard Nijkamp.
Oof.
Oh, I think he would have realized, if he had tried to stick it out, I think he would have realized that he really didn't know what he was doing. And he needed some MLS experience to come in. And we would have been bad, but he may have just skipped the whole Dutch system.
I was just going to say that, Jason. That's where
he may have gone straight to MLS experience.
He would have gone straight to MLS, and that's maybe why we would have been better. So I'm enjoying the comments, but
because I think, and here's my I'm not going to
went off the rails.
Pretend to read Jeff Birding's mind, but I think the Dutch experiment was him not wanting to admit he was wrong, really, to the rest of MLS and saying, oh, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm just going to get a bunch of Dutch guys to come in. And now he's had to go. And thankfully, Chris Albight, I think, is a great hire, a stellar hire. But I think now it's kind of like, if you listen to Chris Albright's press conference and some of the stuff he said, it seems like now we're finally getting to where we should have been 4 years ago when we knew we were going to MLS. And I think that was kind of Jeff saying, okay, I really don't know what I'm doing here. I really need somebody. And there's nothing wrong with admitting that. I know what I don't know, and I will freely admit that too.
Before the last train car pops off the tracks, I'm going to play our new interim head coach, Tyron Marshall's comments after the match. Because if you are interested in where FC Cincinnati is going in the last 3 matches, I believe Pat asked him a question saying, is this the point in the season where you just play and evaluate for next year? Because it seems to make kind of sense. And well, here's Tyron's comments.
No, I don't think so. I think we've been evaluating them from, when I took over, because obviously Chris coming in, he's evaluating those guys as well. So I wouldn't think, no, we're going to use these last remaining games to start evaluating them. No, that process had been going on. And again, for me, it is trying to put together the best possible group that's going to give us a result, opportunity to get a result. Moving forward, again, that's a discussion with, Chris Albight to discuss whether, we're starting to, give some guys more opportunities now and say, hey, look at this guy potentially for the future. But, again, I want to make sure that we're fielding the best team possible to give us a result, because I think this group needs some positive result. All of the stuff that they've been doing behind the scene that, the guys on the outside, you guys don't see it really as much. I think they need that reward, and that would be gratifying for them and for us as well, because it just shows that, all of the hard work would eventually pay off, and I need it for them. It is good mentally. It will help those guys, put them in a good place.
All right. So what's more important there, Ken? Because I think I'm more aligned with you if I know where you're going with this, but is that win the most important thing right now, or is next year the most important thing right now? Next year.
We're spoon tied in my opinion, and I just sit there and go, hey, Bryan's up there shaking his head, but I want to see talent. I just want to see the young talent. I want to see us evaluate some players and formations and see new positions. So That's my opinion. Call me wrong. That's fine. I would evaluate talent from a Chris Albight perspective, trying things out. And I'm just going to say this. Do any of you think Tyrone made the call to play a diamond? That's a Chris Albight, in my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that's a Chris Albight. Let's see how some players play out. Those are the kind of decisions I want to see being made. Sure, go for the win, but you're going to try some players out, I think, in that regard too.
All right, Brian, I'm with Ken. I'm on the Ken train, but you're shaking your head.
Birding jokes aside, guys, my DM's already blown up. Thank you, Rupesh. Jokes aside, no, 100% you got to beat Nashville. It's a rivalry game. You go and beat them, the doors off them. You got to do everything you can to get points versus those guys. That you need to show something to this fan base. You have to show something to this fan base. And this is a game where you do it. Home games, you got to try to go out there and get, I mean, you always try to go out there, but I mean, I swear to God, like if we put Kimi out there versus Nashville, I mean, he might be talent, but I'll be pissed. I want to beat the crap out of those guys so bad. We want something to hang our hats on, and those guys have been laughing at us all year. So do whatever you want, in Philly on Halloween night. Nobody's going to be watching because we'll be trick-or-treating, but beat the crap out of Nashville. Seriously.
That Philly game will be scary, pun intended.
Nobody's going to be there.
I'll disagree with Ken and come back to you if we beat Nashville, but that is such a tall task. I
think the guys always try to win, but I think the guys always try to win, but I want to go back to the 4-3 for one damn game. What they're comfortable with, beat Nashville. Please beat Nashville.
All right, well, we'll see. I mean, I think one of our two theories or methods is going to come true this weekend. They're either going to, and it sounds like they're going to take the Bryan approach and throw everything they can at that Nashville game. They don't have good pickings. It's Nashville, Philly, and Atlanta. So all three of those teams are doing pretty well right now. And your win is going to be, when you give up Chicago and Miami, you give up your easiest spots in the last five.
And all three are playing for playoff position. They're all playing for, if I remember, they're all playing for home games. So Nashville's going to come in hot, wanting to lock in a home game.
Nope.
It's going to be hard.
Second, third, and fifth, if I recall.
Yep.
Well, real quick, I want to speed along because I want Ken to talk some numbers here at the end of the show. But CST, as always, is free for all of our fans. We appreciate those of you that give to make it so. So we want to give you a special shout out for those that have signed up and contribute to our Patreon. Ray Lee, John Davidson, Mike Hudson, Robert Stevens, Laurel Failer, Matthew Adamchek, Buddy Taylor, Riley Stephen Burke, James Denbrough, Tom Newhouse, Brian Weigel, Brian Gillis, Dan Alberts, Will Kychek, Ian Rexroad, Augustus Caceres, Bill Etanitis, Carl Feit, Jeremy Strand, Kyle Pohl, Christina Sharma, Rupesh, Mike, Tom Bezeldorf, Jason, who is super average, John Haskell, Ryan Ernst, Mary Lou, West Antonitis. Am I saying that right? And
Anastasi.
Oh man. Yeah, we're gonna have to put the little pronunciation things in there for me. And
even the one that tells them how to pronunciation.
That's right. And our newest patron, Mr. Rob Pierce, our former editor. Thanks, Rob. You must still appreciate Cincinnati Soccer Talk, even though you left us. And that's kind of a cool thing, actually, that you would throw your backing, even though you no longer throw your brain backing. We'll take your money, man. You also can support CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support or over at our Patreon. And it does just cover the site. It covers our social platform. It covers the statistical websites and stuff we need to keep running. So we appreciate everything you do. Well, you guys want to jump to salary review or you want to take Nashville? I'll give you the option.
We'll skip Nashville.
All right. Ken.
Sorry.
We have a tough task coming up here this next year. Albright's probably got the toughest job in Major League Soccer. He's got to turn around a team that has been turned around so many times they don't know where they're at. So,
Yeah.
I mean, how are we
Go
going
ahead.
to go about this, man?
Well, first we're gonna put Brian's slides up there.
Okay,
That's
we'll do my slides first. All right.
Yeah.
So as you see, like we have our guaranteed compensation for this year, and Ken, I don't know if you want to drive here or you want me to, but I call this the page of little to no return on investment.
Yep. And I agree. As everybody, and for our podcast part of it, Bryan has the top 8 moneymakers on our team salaries, and let's just go through the top 8 salaries and names. Luciano Acosta, 2.2 million. Brenner, 1.7 million. Kubo at 1.2 million. Alan Cruz at 1.1 million. Camo Makocho at 1 million. Ronald Matarrita at 750,000. Harris Madujanin at 625,000. And Mikael Vanderwerf, who's not even seen the field, at 435,000. So, as Bryan says, the little to no return. We've got Vanderwerf, Camo, Cruz, Kubo, and who did I miss? Harris. At probably that's like $4 million worth of money. Roughly.
That's your TAM?
Yeah, that we're getting little to no return. It doesn't mean players aren't playing. It doesn't mean Kubo hasn't played well at points in time. It just means not a good return on investment.
Yeah.
So of those 8 players, Matarrita, Brenner, and Acosta have had some return of fair return on their investment.
And the big thing, and you'll speak to this later, Ken, we go next slides here, is just how much allocation that they do take up that just murders us across the board to get other options.
Yeah.
Now, page 2 of our guaranteed compensation, numbers 9 through 16. This looks a little bit better. Break it down here.
Yeah, 9 through 16 is Jeff Cameron at $390,000, I should say. Tyler Blackett at $390,000. Barrial at $300,000. Gustavo Viacia at $284,000. I don't want to go through it. Vasquez, Isaac Atanga, Joe Zhao at $273,000, and Teton at $269,000. However, I think the big takeaway on this one was initially we thought Cameron and Blackett would be somewhere in the $700,000 range and killing us from a cap perspective. So dropping down to $400,000 each actually saves us about $600,000 of unexpected money in our own heads. So we don't always know the salaries, but we take an educated guess. And that was kind of a surprise. So Cameron has been a great value for this club, and Blackett could be that if he returns well.
And we'll see what happens with Blackett. He's only on a 6-month contract going into next year, till June of next year. So we'll see if that money might change. But yeah, great thing. Again, kind of closing us out here, 17 through 24. Most of this is senior minimums, but Caleb Stanko at 210. He was on like $390,000, so that deal looks more and more palatable. Hagelin 184, Castillo 127, Vermeer at 105. But yeah, so here's I think a lot of these are probably not going to make us or break us, and at a rate like 210, as much as we had on them, that's a deal that okay. If FC Cincinnati needs to bring back Stanko or Castillo 127, it's not breaking the bank.
Yeah, the way I look at the roster too is, the 20 senior roster spots. I look at like maybe 8. This is me personally. I look at like spots 18 and 19 as those Kyle Scott's 92,000 or Florian Velo. Those are good. Those are good spots to put those kind of things, or rates, I should say. And then 18 to to the 14th spot, 14 to 18, those are good $300,000 to $300,000 spots, but you need to get return on it. And that's the problem, is we haven't gotten the Teton. We've gotten the Tetons and the Joe Zhaos, that haven't necessarily returned their investment. And you have to hit on those to really have a solid team across the board.
So how does that transition us into next year?
Well, okay, for next year, I've only have us with 14 senior spots being used, with 2 of those being question marks. So we could have only 12 spots. I only have us bringing back, and these are the guaranteed contracts, or I should say contracts that I'm pretty sure the club's going to have going for him next year, which is Brenner, Acosta, Kubo. I still have Cruz, Matarrita, Blackett. Vermeer jumps up into a senior spot. Jeff Cameron, Barrial. I have us re-signing Gustavus Viacia. I have Brandon Vasquez still coming back. Isaac Atanga. And then I have us signing Florian Velo, but I think that's a bigger question mark than anybody else on that one. And then Kyle Scott. That actually, and if you look at the lower right-hand corner where it says international players, underneath I have total available. That says 3.6 million. So that's about roughly what from a salary cap perspective that Chris Albight has to work with for the remaining 6 spots using the GAM, TAM, and the salary cap. That's good. That's actually better than I ever expected. The problem we have, though, is if you look at this international column, I only have 7 of them showing here as red, but Calvin Harris is on our other one. He's our A spot. So we have literally no open international spots currently. The only way we're going to get it is buy another one, get a green card before the start of the season. You cannot get a green card in the middle of the season and break somebody off of an international contract starting next year. So if they're an international player on the first day of the season, they're international all the way through. New rule, that's the way it is for next year. So point being is that's the sticking point for Chris Albight. And I just want to point out there's the one player that I sit there and go still is a question mark is Gustavus Viacia because of the international spot. Does Chris Albight need that international spot to where we don't sign him? I think Viacia is a great signing. I say great. He's a solid get, perfect for the U22 rule. But that international spot, if we don't have anything coming back, he might value that international spot over buying his loan, option to buy. So
essentially using that for a new DP versus a third U22 player.
So yeah, we should be able to sign a new DP and 2 or 3 solid TAM players.
I would caution everybody listening. I would think that we'd be able to get a green card. Kuba, this will be his 3rd year here. Brenner, he's here on a long-term deal, and I don't know how that factors in. But Barrial's been here quite a while, so.
Ken's right though. The league is tightening down that rule a little bit, just because so many teams are getting them halfway through, a fourth of the way through the season, and they're kind of skirting by and still making changes. So that's going to change. And I think you'll see international roster spots creep up in price because of that.
Yep, I agree.
Right. And going back to Viacia, I agree he's been a great signing, but honestly, I think you could find a domestic player on that amount of compensation that could do the job just as well as he can.
Yep. Yeah, especially with Blackett looking pretty well. And we don't know who we have coming up through the academy.
Yeah.
So is Hagelin out of contract?
That's what I understand right now. We'd have to re-sign him, but
okay.
I'm not saying he's not coming back. Just so everybody knows, you can put in any player you want. If you think Zhao's coming back, put Zhao back in. But I'm just saying this is roughly what I'm estimating for next year.
Gotcha. So this is the Ken's best version from the available knowledge that we have.
For some reason, I thought Zhao was on another, but we're going to educated guesses here, and so, we've been wrong before.
No,
and Zhao is a domestic, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, Hagelin would be too. And honestly, if Hagelin said, "Hey, I want to stay home and I want to play for league minimum $100,000 or whatever," would you take him then? Because I think I would.
Oh, definitely.
I think you take him back for how much he makes now.
All right.
Yeah, the problem with Hagelin isn't how much he makes now; it's how much we gave up to get him in the first place.
Yeah,
but all that doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
I'm on the other side. I'm saying no. I think we have enough money to upgrade even at a center back. So I totally understand what everybody's saying, but I'm like, we've got to get better players. We just do. And we can't run out the same center backs we have.
Well, and I'll say this, if you guys listen to Talking Tactics, I think Coach is recording with Justin on Thursday and releasing this upcoming Friday. But they had mentioned buy, sell players and what players you need back. And are we three players away? We kind of said, left wing, a right back, and a 6, and we're well on our way. And Justin really felt that that wasn't the case. So go check that out. Listen to them. They offer some really great in-depth viewpoints and some really detailed knowledge of some of these players that Justin's played with and how he would build a roster. So check it out.
Honestly, I would not be surprised at the end of the season if this list that we see here is the returning players, and a lot of those whose contracts are up are not going to be re-signed. I think Chris Albright's going to come in and try to clean house.
Yep. And I think he's going to utilize spots 21 through 28. I'm going to say it way better than we did in the past, which is why I sit there and say, I think we can get better players.
He's got so many academy connections around this league.
Exactly.
There are so many good young players that you could come in and fill spots for league minimum that he has connections to that Girard just didn't have. And that Philly Academy is strong. There's all kinds of great academy players out there, and even a few USL, call-ups that I think we could maybe see next year. I hope we're not relying on that. We won't be, but still, I think his connections are really going to be a benefit to the FCC.
No, I agree. I think for the first time, we might be able to fill in some spots with domestics. It's been our biggest weakness in the last 3 years. When it came to the offseason, we would always tap into the international scene to try to fill any hole that we had. And some of those, like a Brenner, they just don't bloom in the first season. We've seen it with Chicharito. We've seen it with so many MLS stars. Unless your name is Latan, sometimes you struggle in your first year. And so it'll be good to see what we can do. If you are wondering, will Brenner be here next year, Ken?
Will he? Yeah. He's on a 5-year contract. We were just talking
5 years. Yeah, there's
5
no
years.
offloading. I just wanted to emphasize that point because I have seen just the random comments of trade him or what. He's not going anywhere. Not unless he can do some stuff on the field, and then we can look at reducing that transfer fee.
3 games left. I said beginning if he can get 8 goals, it's great. He had 1 wrongly called back, so he's meeting expectations.
I want to throw one other thing out, just on the roster thing. Everybody loves U22 spots. The U22 spot, you have to keep the players 3 years. If you don't keep them for 3 years, you pay a penalty for TAM. So my whole point is I've seen people say, oh, we can trade Barrial or a Tonga, and there's a penalty for us, since if you sign a player into that U22 spot and you move them too early, you pay a penalty, and this team can't afford to pay those penalties. Which
even if they stay with the league,
what?
Even if they stay within the league,
if they stay within the league, I think there is some leniency on that aspect of it. But if you sell them outside of it, there's a penalty.
How many people have we had in that spot?
Well, we have 2 right now, but Viacia could fit that 3rd. Okay. So my only logic in my own head, though, is do you want 3 players that have the same time frame coming out, basically, or do you want to spread them out to where you always have a U22 cycling sort of out that you can refill potentially? It's a logic. It's a Chris Albight thing that he has to decide, not mine. Just
well, this is why we have you on, Ken, because you teach us something new every time. Well, almost every time. But if not, at least you're handsome to look at, sir. With that, I'm going to get.
What filter do you got on?
With that, I'm going to go to our final thoughts because the hour is almost at a close. Bryan Weigel, how are you going to close your show?
Well, I do want to address a touchy topic this past week. That was Ben Lunt and his exchange with Pat Brennan. I thought Pat handled it actually very well.
Spicy.
No, yeah. I think there's some times where with CST or the Post or whoever, Laurel, Pat, other people, sometimes we get caught up in some stories, but we try not to be the story, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, Pat and Laurel above and beyond talk to the coaches and more than most people. But when we're not trying to shame anybody out there, we're not trying to own any players. We're trying to give honest feedback from what we can discern, what we get information on. And I hated to see kind of what happened and some people piling on either side. So I just please show a little bit more leniency on some things like that. Again, I'm probably going to get owned one day. I've got owned by Alan Koch before. I got really drunk and started tweeting things, and I had no clue. Like, I wasn't trying to piss off anybody. It happens, but yeah, maybe we all could be a little more kind. Yeah, that's not a number uno problem, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but it still was cool to see Lunt stand up for himself in his own way. The rest of us are just pedestrians in that, really. But that was kind of neat, the two of them. It sounds like they hashed it out.
I hope so. Pat's not going to ever try to go and shame anybody.
Nah, not deliberately. I think Ben was just sitting there going, "Why is everybody writing me out for?" So, to his credit there, Ken.
Yeah, I kind of got to back up what Bryan says and what Rupesh says in the comment section. Just kidding. It's been a rough 3 years, really, and I do think the team has finally got the guy. I do truly believe Chris Albight is the guy. So I want everybody on here to understand that this finally is the moment in time in which I truly believe the team is 100% moving in the right direction. We always hoped Gerard was, getting it, understanding it, and sometimes we felt it was happening. But I said this, I think I might have tweeted it or said it in a Discord or somewhere. Albright said salary cap, efficiency, value. He understands, even if you sign a DP, you need to get value return. So those are those words are very important to me, not just from a salary cap perspective, even though that's where I love to be playing around in. It's somebody who understands the mechanisms from MLS. So I do truly believe there is some hope on the horizon. I think he has a little bit of a rough go this first time around, depending on what he has available. But I do hope everybody sticks around and sees the brightness. It's always darkest before the dawn, right? So hopefully dawn's around the corner. So stay on board, guys. I am.
There you go. I did write down the minute clip of this just in case Chris Albight doesn't work out, and I can just play this back to you next time you're on in a year or two.
Thanks.
So Jason, any bold predictions for you that I can do the same?
I don't know about a bold prediction, but I will say, first of all, thank you guys for having me on. It's been a real pleasure. I hope to come back again sometime. But being someone who is kind of obsessed with MLS, I listen to way too many podcasts. I follow this league, and having followed FC Cincinnati from afar for the first 5 years of its existence, I got to say that this club, out of all MLS clubs that I know of, has one of the most engaged fan bases that there is. And that engaged supporters groups, engaged podcasters, engaged everybody. And there's a lot of goodwill that FC Cincinnati has built up over the years. And I really don't want that goodwill to go away. And I think a win against Nashville and a couple positive results to end out the season will hopefully turn that around. Because if you keep having results like Miami, that's just not going to help anything. But I want people to realize just how lucky we do have it here and just how great this fan base is. Because I can tell you, having come from a place with a very good team, but a not very engaged fan base, it was sometimes like pulling teeth to get people to talk about it, to be engaged. And FC Cincinnati, we've got so many people talking about this team, even in the worst of times. So I think, Boston, you said, imagine when we're good, how annoying we'll be. I think it was you that said that once or twice. That is true. Imagine when FC Cincinnati is good, how annoying and fun this fan base is going to be again.
I'll be the worst of them. I can't wait. Be swatting me like a fly. We do miss those days, and I think we'll be back 100% there with you. Fans, it's going to take the team to do it's their turn to do some goodwill, I think, and they're gonna have to come up with that for us. Well, I guess what's my final thought? My final thought: I met some of our awesome supporters when I was down there for the World Cup. I met some people that listened to the podcast at that Chicago game. A guy came up to me, bought me a beer. He said, "Hey, I haven't supported CST, but I can buy you this beer." And I said, "Hey, this is the first dollars that have come my way. Go ahead. We don't need your money, sir." But no, I appreciate it. I had fun with everyone that came out for the World Cup. We got to hang out with people I haven't seen in a while. Thanks to special shout out to Brendan Yancey, who took some photos for us, sent them over to us. We appreciate you. Didn't ask you, just volunteered, and that is awesome. Really appreciate your help there. And with that, I think we're going to call it a night. FC Cincinnati will be back in action on Wednesday. We will be there, and we'll see you again next week. Watch your tackles.